Did everybody get a chance to reflect on last week?
I didn't write any.
You didn't write any, like in terms of notes or how you were feeling?
No, I didn't write anything. I didn't do anything.
Okay, it's okay. We'll like kind of recap and talk about it today. Melanie?
It wasn't like I didn't write anything down either, but it was just more like contemplating on the things that we learned.
Yep.
And like noticing how I'm feeling throughout the day. And then also thinking a lot about, I was just exploring the foods, like that were grounding. And I did meditate, like pretty much, I meditate every morning. So I tried to focus on my root chakra and I did some of the poses. So.
Okay, fabulous. So are there any questions or anything that kind of pop up for you today that you feel you want to recap in reference to the root chakra? So just to briefly go over, our root chakra was our sense of stability, our sense of safety, our sense of security. That's also balance in our day-to-day life, in our family life, in our connections to community. And so the imbalance would be, of course, the opposite of that. And then we had those sheets. I don't know if you had an opportunity to print them out, Melanie, that just talked about, again, it was just a mini chart, right? We're elaborating more in the program about specifically what the imbalances and the overactive chakras are, but there is that sheet with the reference.
Overactive, yeah.
Yeah, so
I have it on my phone. I haven't printed it off yet.
Okay, that's okay, perfect. So greed, lust, lust for power, aggressiveness, materialistic was everything overactive in the root chakra. I find a lot of them come up like this too, like they manifest into just fear, anxious feelings, all of these, the negative side of emotions that we have a really difficult time moving through, if you want to say that. So if not any questions specific to the root chakra, anything that's coming up for you specifically in reference to the root chakra?
Well, you're talking about patience.
Yeah, patience is one.
That's my biggest problem.
Okay.
Problem area. I guess you could say. I get impatient sometimes when I see something and it's very obvious and I don't, and the other person doesn't get it. I get very impatient. And my biggest problem is with my brother.
Family.
Having patience with my brother.
Okay.
Because my brother knows everything. Like he knows what I'm going through. Like the thing is that he should know what I'm going through because he knows what I'm working full time. I'm taking care of my mother. I'm taking care of my health, and I'm moving. I'm, what else?
There's a lot of
There's
things.
a lot. There's a lot going on. Then I had to rent my place out, so I was doing all of that, and he just doesn't get it. Like he says to me, "Oh, because I'm trying to lose weight." He says, "Oh, you can realize your health goals if you drink water and sleep." And I thought, wow, that's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Like, it's true.
Yeah.
Yes, that's very true.
Yeah.
But did you take into consideration all the other more important stuff?
Yeah.
Like, there's so much, and you focused on water and sleep. What about stress?
Yeah.
What about stress?
Yes, you're right. You're absolutely right.
And he just doesn't get it.
Yeah.
It's like talking to the wall.
No, I get it. So impatience, but also in that I'm hearing like the family thing is coming up, and that is certainly in the root chakra. And family is a very challenging one. Melanie, I don't know if that's something that you can resonate with as well. So speak on this a little bit, because there's a couple of things that I've heard in my lifetime that really make sense to me. And the first is that it will always be the people that we love most that challenge us the most because we're the closest to them, right? And obviously siblings, they know us kind of through and through. but at the same time, they can, because, they think they know, right? Or they have this pass to know. There's also this lack of communication that happens. I feel that especially as we get older, so we're no longer living together. We're not kids anymore, or even with parents, we don't reside together anymore. So everything is kind of based on a past time, right? So it
Even
can
when
be.
you do live, sorry, even because I live with my brother right now, I share a house with my brother. And so even when you do live with them, even in your older age, a lot of that stuff comes back up, like the old way of relating as children or teenagers or whatever, and the expectation there too. And then it's been an interesting process even for us in our relationship, just like navigating how to share a space with another adult who's also family, right? Who gets on your nerves, but you also love. It's like,
We call it a bittersweet relationship, right? And the one thing I think that stands true too in everything and everybody is like whoever's in close proximity to us, be it family, in our workplaces, they're all mirrors for us, right? Mm-hmm. We have these agitations that come up, or these, aggressions or anger or impatience, whatever we want to identify it as. And we can only identify with that emotion because we ourselves have felt that emotion, right? Like in most cases, right? I know that someone frustrates me because I know that I have certainly frustrated somebody myself at some point, right? And so the part of patience that is so challenging, it's still a work in progress, I find, is to always have that lens, that mirror to look back and be like, okay, how much more patience can I have? Because I understand that this person is operating from an old paradigm. Or this is beautiful, understanding the chakras too. It's like you need your throat chakra worked on. Right? Because again, you may have the ability to communicate what it is that you want to get out, but brother, you haven't been listening to me, right? Like there's all these, but we can find that like in different times in our lives, we all go through this same thing. Like I only had the realization that I needed work on my throat chakra because I understood that I wasn't listening, right? I was told like, you were not hearing me. And I was like, well, how can that be? Like, I communicate so effectively. I do my best to listen, but no, like, right? So it's interesting because I find doing this work, we're going to talk about this today as we go into the sacral or the Svadhisthana chakra and the yogic philosophy is a sense of detachment, which again is super challenging and we're not expected to nail it right away. And I think it's a thing that we're always reflecting on, like, how do I detach from this thing? Meaning, how do I not be so emotionally invested in this energy that's coming at me? Right? So, the angry person, the person that's had a bad day, that's taking it out on you and making you feel like you're the issue, but it's not that, right? How do you kind of let that sort of pass without being reactive, detaching, right? And from me, understanding the chakras has really been able to open sort of an observatory lens to be able to do that, right? Versus being so reactive. It's like, okay, I can see, remember we talked about this last week, like we can see how someone who is imbalanced or blocked in their root chakra, who feels fearful, anxious, unsure, financially unstable, we can certainly understand how if they were to express themselves and what was going on, why they might be in this state of greed or anger or obsession with material things because they have an absolute fear of losing their possessions. The challenge is that we go around kind of judging and being judged because we don't communicate. It's not something that we've practiced, right? I'm always so amazed that they pretty much figured out mental health on all levels thousands of years ago. And then somewhere along the way, we ditched it and said, we don't want to deal with the negative stuff. We just want to fight about it. We want to be right. One side has to be right. And now let's all focus on being positive. isn't that insanity? Like right? I feel like that is a definition of insanity. So to me, it's like, oh my God, this is so beautiful, because now, again, with this lens, you can see, like, you're angry or you're coming at me because there's so much more going on, right? The thing is, when you start telling people your root chakra is really like out of whack, they're like, what are you talking about? I'm just fine, you know? So it's kind of like a tool for developing more empathy and love within ourselves, and a protective shield, I feel, as well, right? Because once we know this and we see this in people, it's like you can't penetrate this anymore.
And then it allows us to have more compassion for others too.
Yeah.
Well, that's where the patience comes from, when we understand, like, how we also get triggered, and we have moments like that where we could be infuriating someone else, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And using those situations and experiences as a mirror, and self-reflecting on that and learning from it, and then recognizing it when it comes up in someone else again, or like in a situation where you're the one that's frustrated because of something else but because of someone else's behavior that seems like, uncalled for, or what, or yeah, I think.
Yeah. And not to say that it's easy, right? Like, I feel like it consumes a lot of energy, because this work forces you to sit back and look at what's happening versus being so reactive. So that can be tiring, that can be sad, that can be frustrating, especially when it's family. I certainly am experiencing it right now, and there's still moments that happen and I'm like, oh, I just want to revert back to the way I was and be so reactive, like, what is your problem? And I just gotta breathe and be like, okay, I'm certainly, there's something in me that's also agitating them, that is bringing this up for them. And we can just go back and forth in this energy. So one of us has to work through it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
It's
so interesting.
I was listening to a podcast about that today on my drive, actually. I don't know if you've heard of the Gene Keys. Have you heard of Gene Keys?
No.
So it's similar. Some people, well, if you've heard of human design.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like everyone's heard of human design. So the founder of Gene Keys actually studied human design with the founder of human design first.
Okay.
And then he had some similar to the founder of human design. This guy, Richard Rudd, had some sort of like awakening, like 3 days straight where he couldn't sleep and he couldn't eat. And he was just getting all of these downloads.
Yeah.
And so he created a system. But with the Gene Keys, it's similar to my human design in a way that, like, it uses astrology and the I Ching and the chakras as well, like, and all of that knowledge that comes from the East. And he focuses on the shadow aspect.
Yes.
And with every shadow comes a gift. And then there's the city, which is like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like when you've reached your gift, and then you're like in nirvana state, basically, right? But what he talks about the shadows, and like what we're talking about right now about patience and being in relationships with people and getting frustrated.
Yeah.
He says that, like, the shadow, we have to go through those emotions. We have to go through it in order to come to the reality, to wake up to our gifts, right? Or even like realize it. So like all of the crappy feelings and the reactive feelings that we have to go through it. But it's with self-awareness and contemplation, he says, that then when you start noticing the patterns, then like if you get triggered and you're like in a state of despair or grief or, sadness or depression, that ends up becoming shorter, like every time, because like every time you're learning something new and you're getting closer to the gift, which is like, there's a shadow and then like this, I can't really, I have the books. Yeah. There's a shadow and to every shadow there's a gift. And so you have to basically go through all of these negative emotions. They're all necessary, because without them, we won't know what's on the other side.
That's
And
right.
also we won't know our own strength.
Yeah, and it attributes to, if we always stay in the, if we don't move through it. Like, I love the fact that we've termed it the shadow, because it will constantly follow us, and that is the thing that is our suffering, if we don't turn to it and face it.
Exactly.
So the question that I have for you, though, because really what you're saying, all of the books, all of the mystics, all of the saints, whatever it is that you believe in on any level of spirituality or religion, they're all talking about the same thing in different ways, right? Yeah. And really what we're saying is just that in every negative, there's a positive. You know, if you were an atheist, this is what I would say to you, you know, in every negative, there is a positive. It's, can you adjust yourself? Well, you can. Are you willing to put in the work to adjust yourself, to see things from a different lens other than woe is me, or somebody is doing something to me, or you are purposely trying to do something to me, versus whatever's going on over there is totally you. And I know that, you know, I'm working on myself and I'm okay, type deal. So the question that I have to you, because this is very interesting, is what, like, when you guys came into this course, I asked the question, like, why do you want to do this work? But if this is something that you really hold tight to, right? If this really resonates with you and whatever else comes up in your spiritual journey, be it plant medicine or, you know, more meditation or more asana, whatever it is, what is the purpose of all of that throughout the course of your lifespan? Not just what's happening here in this program.
For me, what's the reason why?
Yeah.
I want to be completely secure, feel safe and at home in my own body, and just like anchored and rooted in myself and who I am. To the point of like I know, and I know like the human experience, we're always going to have ups and downs, but I want to get to a point where I don't go into a total downward spiral every time I'm triggered. And for me right now, it's like, it's all relationships seem to be my biggest challenge, like romantic relationships, where I get easily triggered and then I easily spiral, and it like throws me off for weeks, like my mood and everything, right? And when I'm not in a relationship, I'm like, this is zen, right? I'm like, I love, like, anyway, so yeah, for me, it's just like getting to a point where I'm like, I just know and feel good with myself and who I am, no matter what, whether I'm with someone or not, like regardless of the situation that I'm in, just knowing that and trusting myself enough to know that even when I am in a downward spiral, that I'm always going to come back up. I'm always going to find my way back. And that's why I'm doing this stuff.
I was just going to say that downward spiral is still like the shadow, right? But it's like the resiliency, right?
Yeah.
At times I feel without this work, right? Whether again, it was any kind of relationship, it got so heavy, so dark, you questioned, do I know what to do to get out of this? Like, what is going to happen to my life if this keeps going this way, you know? And so it's the resilience and the grace to allow yourself, I think, to go through those periods and know that, okay, let me just let this pass. And
exactly.
Okay. Efrosini, is this a thing you thought about?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Share.
I'm not very good at expressing myself.
That's okay. We're working on all the chakras.
I'm a good writer.
Mm-hmm.
Not great, but better at writing things down than expressing them. I get very nervous when I'm around other people. I know it's just the two of you.
Yeah. No, I get you.
Like for me, if it's I'm one-on-one with somebody, I'm okay.
Okay.
But if there's more people, I get nervous.
Okay.
And I kind of lose myself. So my expression might not be the greatest, but the reason I want to do this is the same as Melanie, sorry. Same as Melanie, to get to a point of calm within myself, because there's a lot of stuff going on with family and with friends and like a lot of stuff, like a lot of turbulence, let's say.
Okay.
And my dream is to help others to get to their calm. So I feel like if I help others, by helping others, I can get there myself. Do you know what I mean? Like it's kind of like I want to get to my calm, but I can't get there unless I help everybody else along the way. Sorry, I get very emotional.
No, it's okay. This is good. The more we like get it out, we talk, we cry, we get frustrated with some things.
Very easily, like I cry very easily. So
me too.
Yeah,
I'm a very emotional person. Yeah, that's and typically you'll find at Frazini, like the people that do this work are like we're trying to figure out why we're so emotional, but it's because we feel so much. We're connected to so much, and for the most part, I'm sure you would agree with this too. Yeah, Melanie, you walk dogs, so I know you feel this, right? You have this overwhelming sense of, being of service to other people. That's in summary, I think what you just said, right? Like you really want to feel like you're able to help people, and you feel like if you're able to help them, you will also be able to help yourself.
Like I feel like it's the only way to get to my calm is through everyone else's turbulence. Like helping them with their turbulence will help me with my calm. You know what I mean? Like, it's like I need them as much as they need me.
I hear you.
We need each other.
But then it gets chaotic for you too.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Great stuff. Chaos, especially.
Okay. So, I mean, that's so deeply layered, right? For all of us. And I think this is something that exists for many women, especially because we are the creators, we are the nurturers, we are the caregivers. It's what we do, right? It ends up that we end up taking care of people at work, taking care of animals, taking care of children, other people's children, our siblings, our parents. Like this is just what we do as women. And from my own personal experience, I can say I really had this mindset too, because I feel in our era too, it was really something that was instilled in us. Like when you're down and out, help others and you'll feel better about yourself, right? Always be of service to others. Or in the church, they talked a lot about that too, right? Being of service to others, never being about the self, don't be selfish is the message that always came through for me. And I always found myself spiraling because I'm like, I don't know how much more help I can be of. And it's not working for me. Like, I'm so frustrated. I'm so sad. I feel like I'm being stretched so thin. And so this on different levels, at different layers, because only you know and can discover and explore what is all underneath that. And with it, it will come to the surface. And then we work through it. Okay. And then, so the last point I want to make to that is something that I also understood in terms of, we talk about now, we hear a lot now about like doing for yourself, right? Make sure you have self-love, self-care. We hear a lot of this right now. Yeah. And women still have such a hard time with this, especially because they're like, I feel so selfish, or I have, if you're a mom, you have mom guilt, right? About leaving your kids or not being available for everybody. And so understanding yogic philosophy, that inward journey that I was talking about last week, it's not about the self. Like, make sure you get out and party at least once a week so you have some free time and you're not so stressed out. It's taking care of your soul, your soul self, which I was like, oh man, that's so different. How can that be selfish? Because that's like, again, if you're a believer in reincarnation, right? If you're a feeler, right? If you're a feeler of a lot of things and you're like, I don't know where this comes from, chances are they're what we call samskaras, right? Your past lives sort of coming through, all that you've carried with you. And so this is kind of a good segue into the sacral chakra, because this being our center of creation, our energy center of creation. So the location is right behind the pubic bone, our sacral chakra. So you remember the root was at the tailbone. So sacral being right behind the sexual organs or the pubic bone, and that being our source of all creation, where everything is birthed. It is said that all of our samskaras, all of our past life, all of the things that have been passed down are sitting there. And so there's been a study specifically with boys that has talked about something coming like through boys that is very connected to your past incarnations. It's very interesting. So if you think about like where a baby is manifesting and where a baby comes through, right? You're like, okay, it kind of makes sense, right? Like when we come up and we're like, oh my gosh, I have all of these things that are going on in my life. Like I need to figure this out and figure out where it's all coming from. My childhood, before my childhood, while I was in the womb, when we think about all these things, and then it's said again that they've known this forever, that our incarnations are sitting in our womb space. And this is also why you're hearing a lot of the trending like womb circles, healing circles, right? Like, because when you heal that area, it's like a purge. You free yourself of all that has come through from that space that we all came from, male or female or, other. We've all been in that space. And so everything has been passed through to us. And if we've birthed, we've also had things that we're passing on. That makes sense? So interestingly enough, in my reading, okay, we'll start from the beginning. So Svadhisthana, okay, Sva meaning one's own, okay, and then Adhisthana meaning dwelling place. So the sacral chakra, as we call it, is actually in translation from Sanskrit, one's own dwelling place. Okay. It is involved and responsible for the Kundalini awakening of that Shakti energy. Do you remember that we talked about that?
Sorry, which chakra?
So we are on the sacral chakra, and we're going to go through like the sheets so right now I'm just giving you like pieces of information. Yeah, and this all you guys will be posted for you like in the notes underneath the videos each week when you get to sign on. So these notes you'll have, and then these are our reflections in the workbook. So we'll work through it as we talk through. Okay. So do you remember the Kundalini that we talked about? The Kundalini energy traveling up the spinal fluid into the pineal gland, creating this, what people call this Kundalini awakening. And really, it's just a lot of energy surging through your body. It's like when your chakras are open and you have cleared and purged a lot of these things that we're talking about, and we've done a lot of healing work through the chakras. It's like you are open to receiving your greatest gifts, or you're open, but you haven't healed, right? Maybe you're imbalanced in your chakras. And so there's some powerful, but not so good stuff coming through the Kundalini energy. Do you remember that? So the Svadhisthana being the dwelling place of all things past and present in your current life contribute to that awakening. So kind of one of those reasons why you want to make sure that we're not trying to race to a Kundalini awakening session. Like everyone's like, let's go to this highly energetic Shakti, womb awakening. And then it's beautiful. It feels beautiful, but the integration always comes later. It can manifest into different things depending on, where we are in our life and what's going on. And also, more importantly, how we have learned to manage those things, right? Like people have gone through trauma in their life and you will speak to them and they will say they're fine, right? I've had people who have said, like, I've been through, I'll give you a good example. This is an everyday thing for most people, right? They're like, yeah, I'm working all the time, but I'm fine. Right? I'm like, yeah, but you're getting 5 hours of sleep a night. Yeah, but I've been doing it for 20 years. I'm good. Right? They've normalized and desensitized to what is actually going on within their body. With that, it is trauma. You not getting sleep and always being on, your body perceives as trauma. Your cortisol is triggered, and you can feel like you're trying your best to be cheerful, but there's a lot going on. Make sense?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions about that? No? Okay. So we talked about the samskaras, point of creation. Okay, so yes, I was going to talk about this. So when working on the Svadhisthana, it can, just in general, I'll be really open with you guys, right? Yoga practices, because they're an inward journey, are not necessarily for the person that is depressed, anxious, because it can be very confusing to understand these things. Kind of have to take it with a grain of salt, right? Which is why yoga is also very trauma informed. You know, you want to be careful when people are coming into these spaces and they're feeling certain ways. This is not the be all and end all and the fixing of everything, which is why I made that very clear last week. This is a better understanding of ourselves and our emotions as we evolve.
Mm-hmm.
But, and the reason for this is because when we're doing this energy work, whether it's through the chakras or kundalini, or you go to a womb or yoni healing, whatever it is, a lot of stuff comes up. A lot of stuff comes up. And this is also why community is so important, because you want to feel like you're in a safe space, and you want to feel like, you know, in the coming weeks, as you're going through your integration processes, that you have a community of support that you can lean on. So when working in Svadhisthana, given there's so much in that space, we're expelling a lot of trauma as we move through. So when we say tamasic behavior is kind of like what we talked about in the overactive chakra, right? Like just like almost being harmful to yourself, not taking care of your spirit, you know, not being kind to yourself, right? So like drinking too, you know, addictions may come up, that kind of thing, in ways to cope. Anger, depression, you know, and it can go the other way, where it turns into a lot of sexual desires, or like a lot of passions come to the surface that feel like it's too much to hold, right? So interestingly enough, you know, through that process, you may also procrastinate, find yourself very tired, right? The people will be like, you know, I have no motivation. I procrastinate all the time. And they just think, again, for the most part, we think something's wrong with us because we don't understand all of these parts of our humanity. And all of this, the shadows that come up, are part of the evolution. So it's called a purgatory state. This evolution phase, phase of evolution is called a purgatory state. And this is what I was going to say, many saints have reported turmoil and temptations through this phase. So these are all things I feel like when we were children and we heard about great saints and, you know, all these wonderful humans in the world, we never saw what was going on in the background. We never saw what was going on in the background, you know, the wrestling that they had to do with themselves in their humanity. So I thought that was a very interesting point. So interesting. Energy at different levels is known as a spiritual experience. On an emotional level, it can through as love, right? And on a physical level, sex, as it relates to the Svadhisthana, right? And then on the lowest level of understanding would be complete ignorance. Different phases. So you may have already heard, or you will hear people say, especially in Kundalini and energy healing, or even someone who just does meditation, okay? It's so euphoric for them because they're so deep in their practice that it is more heightened than a sexual experience for them. So it's to understand that all of these this energy is it's manifested in different ways, right? But we don't feel like we are healed in this area of our sacred space, our creativity, our birthing place, it can feel like ignorance, or it can feel like an not an overdrive. What would I say? Like an uncontrollable temptations or desires, right? Or when it's healed, it can feel like unwavering love, right? And when it's really connected in devotion, whatever that devotion is for you, you're free of everything else, right? It's like, I don't need people, I don't need things, I don't need anything. I have my devotion. And so I find that spiritual experience is that and more for me. I'm not there. This certainly takes practice, and I think as we move through our life, it's like we said last week too, if all of our chakras were in perfect harmony and balance and we had all of it together, what would be the purpose of our mission here on earth? Yeah. We have the shadows and we have the challenges to evolve, to learn, and to get to this place of liberation, freedom, nirvana, moksha, samadhi, however you want to describe. Enlightenment. Okay. So lots of heavy stuff there. Any questions, reflections?
Question about, you said the Kundalini awakening starts at the sacral chakra. Is that?
It plays a role and is responsible, because Kundalini awakening is also the Muladhara, the root chakra is also very involved. Okay. So it's the two in conjunction together, because that's where the energy starts. Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay. So let's talk about what this all looks like in an unbalanced Svadhisthana chakra. So we have compulsive, obsessive, controlling, right? Like if we consider that this is our sexual energy, our sensuality, our past lives coming through, okay? We can sort of connect the dots through these. Addictions, feeling unable or unwilling to socialize, guilt, jealousy, having challenges with reproductive problems, disorders in the organs governed by this chakra, such as breathing problems or urinary tract problems.
That's when it's blocked or overactive?
Blocked. I think overactive. So we have that small list in the, what did I just do? Oh. Like
you're cutting out. I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. I was pushing on my mic. Sorry. Consider overactive, almost like self-harming, like causing, whether it's physical pain through, being promiscuous, or, being manipulative, addictions. These are more self-harming behaviors. Okay. Repressed emotions, right? And we can sort of understand how repressed emotions would be very tightly woven into guilt and jealousy that also live in the Svadhisthana. Okay. A need for new relationships or environments frequently. This is a big one because you're very focused in an imbalanced Svadhisthana. You're very focused on fixing the problems, and so we look to external sources, right? And so trying to quickly jump from relationship to relationship, or abandoning relationships is also a big one in there. I mentioned that overly rigid or loose sexual boundaries, trauma, right? Trauma that exists in that area in many different ways.
Sorry, hold on. So overly loose sexual boundaries, overactive.
I would say, yeah, because that's more self-harming.
But you said before that, you said rigid also, like
overly rigid.
Overly rigid or overly loose?
Yes. So consider overly rigid, like tied to, yeah, like both extremes, right? We're not in the middle where it's healthy, right? So overly rigid could be tied to, again, that jealousy factor, right? Or the guilt factor or the shame factor.
Okay.
Okay. Feeling you don't deserve pleasure. I kid you not, this is such a huge thing for women. And we tend to, when we hear the word pleasure, I think a lot of us revert to like sexuality, right? But I'm talking about joy. Like, I don't know how many women I've met in my life that, they hit a certain age and they're like, I don't even know who I am. I don't know what I like. I don't know what my favorite foods are. I don't know. I've just been doing everything for everybody else. So pleasure in every sense. Okay. So an imbalanced Svadhisthana would feel like you don't deserve pleasure. Negative, worried, or obsessed thoughts about sexuality and sexual desires, same thing as being, promiscuous or having loose boundaries. Inability to let go of the past, again, tied to the samskaras, past lives coming through. Linking self-worth with what you do or what you have. Suppressing natural needs or overindulging desires. Depression, overexertion. Emotionally dependent on people or possessions, again, very closely tied to the Muladhara as well, that safety, security, sense of feeling grounded, right? Money or desires are priority when making choices, right? Okay, balanced, receptive, positive relationship with your body, ability to accept change, sharing emotions and feelings freely, nurturing, ability to express your feelings and desires, ability to be creative and see different perspectives, feel like you can let go of things easily, friendly, calm, and kind, doing things for pleasure and enjoyment, indulging in creative activities and following through with ideas, feeling joy and passion, positivity about life. You have a regular menstrual cycle. That's the opposite of having those reproductive challenges. Abundance, open, awareness of the need to nurture appetites, desire, and ability to know limits, emotional stability, ability to comfortably express sexuality and sexual desires, able and willing to honor your own sexual boundaries, and in a supportive, you are supportive in a relationship. Foods would be anything orange. There was just tons, right? We've got sweet orange foods, we've got carrots, oranges themselves, pumpkins, sweet potatoes, melons, squash, and drinking water because your Svadhisthana is a water element. What's that?
I need my water.
You need your water. That's a cue. Cool. Okay. Do you have a question, Melanie?
No.
Okay.
Well, I do after.
Yeah. So sorry, there was a note that I made here too. One thing that it's okay. So one thing that I forgot to mention, just tied back into that sense of like the energy being manifested in different ways, the spirituality, the love, the ignorance, those types of things. Passion, right, which lives in the Svadhisthana, when channeled, manifests into that devotional piece. It's interesting. Right. And that can be different for different people. So this is way beyond us, right? But I'm talking, so people who have been in meditation, very connected to their energy centers, practicing swamis, they don't, it's not that they don't have sexual desires. It's that the way the books describe it, it's like it's a seed versus thoughts. They don't wrestle with these things. They don't wrestle with the attachment or desire to interact in this way because they find it all in their devotion. Okay.
Right.
All right. So let's get to our reflective pieces. So if we just go back to the sheets that we had last week. So starting at page 2, I'll get my sheets in order here.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. They're part of the same set, but it's on page 3. The sacral chakra.
Right. I don't have the page number.
Yeah, I was going to tell you to start writing the page numbers because I think yours got cut off at the bottom.
Chakra system is number 1?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So it would be page 3 for you, the sacral chakra.
My heart chakra. Oh, my.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so taking into consideration all of these things that we just talked about today, just taking a moment to reflect today how we're doing in the sacral.
Does my sacral chakra yet?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So here's like your short list, right? Down at the bottom, like balance versus unbalanced. And then just think about how your day went today. The second one. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So wait, reflecting on how our day went?
Reflecting on yourself today in the sacral, right? Taking all those things into consideration that we talked about.
Okay.
Okay, and then if you're done that, we can go to page 4. So page 4 is the 7 chakras in a chart, right? So this is just, you have the 7 chakras and it just gives you a space for the day and then a space for the reason, right? So today being Wednesday, maybe you haven't felt this yet. Maybe you feel like there's other stuff going on and you're not feeling like your sacral is coming up for you, okay? But if you consider this week, Monday, Tuesday, today, which day of this week would you associate with that chakra, with the sacral chakra, right? So say for instance, today I was having a whole bunch of relationship problems. And so for me, trust was coming up and guilt was coming up and fear was coming up. I'm like, oh my gosh, today is like everything in my sacral, right? Versus if today was a day where it was that we weren't understanding each other and the points that we were trying to make, it would be more in my throat chakra, right? Or if we were having a discussion about finances, for me, today would be more in my root chakra where I'm feeling unstable, insecure. So I know it sounds like a rough activity, and this is one that you can totally take home with you. The practice of this chart specifically is just to get us to tune in a little bit more, right? Like we don't usually have all of the things going on at once, right? It's interesting because from this stuff, I'm telling you, from Indian philosophy was developed the 7 dimensions of wellness, which has been studied, but studied, I don't know why, because this stuff already existed, but it's the same thing. And so it just talks about, all of the 7 things that we need in order to feel well in our life. And the chakras are the same kind of thing. Energies can be off, but are we paying attention to what energy is off?
Right.
And one may be impacting the other. So your experience in your instability with finances today may play into your fears and your, maybe jealous, right? If I'm feeling insecure about money and then me and my partner go out and I see a beautiful woman walk into a room and she looks like she's got money, I'm like, oh my God, is my relationship going to end? Like all of these things just came in from yesterday into today, right?
Right.
Root chakra to sacral. So the activity is just to get us to tap in a little bit more and see what's coming up for us on a day-to-day. That make sense?
Mm-hmm. No, I'm not getting it. I'm not getting what I have to do. What am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to.
So I'm saying this is, okay, the activity, the sheet says there are 7 chakras in 7 days. If each chakra was a day, which would be which, right? So it would probably make sense if you saw this at the end of our 8 weeks, right? So I'm saying this week, right? If you evaluate your week so far, Monday to Wednesday.
Oh, which chakra is affected?
Which chakra is affected, essentially, right? So if you think about
we only know 2 so far.
Exactly. So this is what I mean. This is something that you can totally do later. But if your sacral has come, for the things that we talked about today, if it's come up for you this week already, you think back Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, what day do you feel your sacral was really active? That makes sense? Okay.
What number is that sheet?
4.
Oh, I'm right on it. Okay, but how do you know which one is which?
You know why? Because they're colored on the, so you can just write down sacral on the next one above. Yep.
This one?
Yep. Because we're going up the line.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. All right. And then let's go into number 6. Okay. So sheet number 6 is the chart and it just says blocked chakra. So it looks the same. Okay. And it's just asking, do you feel any of your chakras are blocked? Why do you think they might be blocked? So for the sacral, which is the one above the root, yeah. How is this chakra blocked for you? In all that we talked about and all of the imbalances that would come up in this chakra, what do you feel?
I'm unbalanced.
You feel you're imbalanced in this one?
I'm totally balanced.
In this one?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
I don't feel like nothing is off.
In that one. Okay,
Yeah,
great.
it's good.
Okay, so how to unblock this one? We've talked about this. So it's still the same. There's asana practice, which is different postures that I'm going to give you. So all of the warriors, there's a series of 3 warriors. Those are great for Svadhisthana. Chair pose is another one that's great.
Interesting. I do those daily. I feel like mine is blocked. Well, I think I told you, I saw an energy healer and she told me that my root, my sacral, and my solar plexus that day was closed.
Yeah.
But then she said, like, after the treatment, she's like, they're open now, but I need to work on them. And I do feel like my sacral, it's interesting. And that's what I said. Like I said, I don't have a question now, but later.
Yeah.
As we were going through the overactive, not so much. Like, I don't see that, but like, I feel like, is it possible to have it balanced in some areas and not like, because I feel like going through the list of balance, there's some stuff there that I'm like, I feel like, yes,
Yeah.
it feels balanced, but then it also feels imbalance, like low libido, fear of intimacy, like that has come up a lot. It's gotten better. Like it used to be really like intense when I like just a few years ago, like before COVID hit, like I was just like definitely not overly promiscuous or loose. I'm like, I'd say rigid while. And now I don't feel like it's not rigid, but right now I feel like I just don't have desire. And so because I don't have that desire, I do also see how it's affecting my creativity. Like and it says isolated here, and I'm just noticing that.
Yeah.
I'm seeing that a lot to my friends, how like I feel like I'm going through some sort of like, I don't know, metamorphosis, awakening, or something, like a shift, but like a spiritual shift, like just like a lot of things, a lot of changes in the last 2 years, especially. And I feel like every time I go through it, I feel very isolated.
Yeah. Because it's an inward journey.
Yeah. And I feel like it's beautiful and it's like amazing because I feel like I'm noticing so much and learning so much about myself that I never, or just like the universe and the way things work, right? And just understanding how everything is connected and everything is happening for a reason and a purpose, even like the really shitty stuff.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like I feel isolated in the sense that I feel like I can't talk to just anyone about these things. They look at me like I'm nuts, like they're just like, it's just so out there for them that to them they're just like, I don't know, you're talking about, well, it's too woo for me,
Yeah. I'm so glad you mentioned that word. I don't think we've said it once since we've been in this space, but this is what people have called woo woo. And to me, knowing, like, again, we're trying to break down the science of this. And because we didn't have the hard evidence, we dismissed it. We didn't want to know anything about it. So we walked around calling everybody woo woo or crazy or all of these things. Meanwhile, this is information that we are learning about that has existed on this planet for thousands of years.
Yeah.
If you go into tribes and you meet medicine women who have never had a day of academic studies, but can literally tell you the healing properties of a plant. This is Ayurveda. Ayurveda is essentially holistic medicine. And Ayurveda was a download. Ayurveda was not scientifically researched. Only now they're researching it and they're like, oh my God, it was all right. It was all right information.
Yeah.
So if you trust that and consider that, that is something very powerful. That means that we have an inner knowing that can teach us things that books can't.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. We said it was crazy for so long.
It is, because I feel like I sound like a crazy person when I say things that, like, I think I told you guys this last time, like, it doesn't always happen when I'm high, but I noticed a while ago it was happening more often when I was high, like in a more relaxed state. I'd get these downloads, and I would record some things on my phone, like just talking, like whatever was on my mind or whatever I was thinking, or writing it down. and I kid you not, going through the Gene Keys book, I like there are passages that I've read where I'm like, word for word, this is what I wrote down like
Yeah.
months ago, or what I said months ago, or even a year ago, like in a recording. And it's just like, how did I didn't read that information anywhere before reading it, because then when I read it, I was like, what the hell? This
Yeah.
information is just being like, I'm just receiving this stuff like from source, I guess.
Yeah.
But I feel crazy saying that to people still. I'm still not quite. And so this is where I need to work on my root chakra as well, because I'm not feeling so like confident in myself enough.
Trusting yourself.
Yeah,
Trusting.
trust. And like,
That's our Manipura too. That's like our power chakra. That's our, there's so many things, right? Because there's our throat chakra in that, like our ability to express ourselves freely, totally confident in knowing, like information is coming out about psychedelics right now. And people are like, oh my God, psychedelics. And it's like, if you just did them, you would have known already, like, and trust that,
yeah.
And so it's beautiful, I think once we get over the shock of like,
Well, because I like at first I think like who do I think I am really? Like I'm not, like I'm not trying to be like, it's that thought process too. Like I'm not special, but then I'm like,
you
no,
are.
we're all special.
That's right.
We're
That's
all
right.
special. It's not just like, it's not like, oh, look at me, I have this gift, or like I'm, channeling or whatever. No, it's like, oh, we all have this capability.
Everybody.
Not everyone believes in, because not everyone believes it. People might look at you like, and hesitate, maybe be uncomfortable with what you're saying. And now I have to learn how to be comfortable with their discomfort.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Listen, I think from the moment that you realize that you're a feeler, that you're what people have described to you as like overly emotional, you already are like, you're already tapping into your gift. You're already tapping in. And so now it's just to go through the process and then get over the shock, right? And then enjoy. Like it's so powerful. It's so powerful. And I think it's even more powerful when you meet people that have really opened to it, They're like magic humans.
Absolutely.
Magic humans everywhere.
I keep meeting more and more people like that. So it's amazing.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. Okay. So other sheets we can totally work on. Let's skip over to 31. Remember that you can go through your book at any time. And there's a lot of sheets that like you can photocopy for each one of the chakras. Okay. But 31 and 32 is specific to our sacral. So let's go through this.
Okay.
This is, I want to work with the sacral chakra because. Okay. So I'm just going to fire off again some of the balanced ones and just ask yourself if this already exists for you or if this is something you want to work on more. So it would be, yep, yes, yep. So receptive, positive relationship with your body, ability to accept change, sharing emotions. So I was saying in this first box, it says, I want to work with my sacral chakra because. So I'm just going to go through the balanced list and you just ask yourself if this already exists for you or if this is something that you really want to invite more of into your life. Okay. So you are a supportive person in a relationship. You're able and willing to honor your own sexual boundaries, ability to express yourself comfortably sexually and in your desires. You feel like you have emotional stability. Your awareness of the need to nurture appetites, right? Whether it's your desires or whatever, and also you have ability to know your limits. You feel open, you feel abundant, you have a regular cycle, you feel positive about life, you feel joy and passion, indulging in creative activities and following through with your ideas. You're doing things for pleasure and enjoyment. You feel friendly, calm, and kind. You have the ability to let go. You feel nurturing and express your feelings and desires. and you accept change. These help heal your sacral chakra. So I'm going to list off a few for you, and you can just list what resonates most for you. Okay, because we don't have to do all the things. We know there's stones, we know there's food, there's wearing the color orange. Okay, there is mantra, there's meditation, there's asana practice, there's mudras, which I'll show you the yoni mudra that we'll be using today. Okay, and then in your daily activities, you nurture your needs. So this is tough, because this is like, do you have a good understanding of what your needs are to be nurtured?
Mm-hmm.
Showing love to yourself. Do we understand what that means? Do you allow pleasure in your life, in your daily activity? You can have a meal or a chat with family and friends. Remember, the sacral is also about your ability to be social. Okay, are you taking the rest and time out? The walking, the yoga that you need. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And do you include movement into your life that really is energizing to the sacral? Dancing is a huge one. And swimming.
Oh, interesting. Swimming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, and then some affirmations. Okay, so in both of those, right? There's different you can use that box at the bottom too to state different ways that you will connect to your sacral, because there's the crystals too. Okay. Mm-hmm. There's also the affirmations. So these are great ones. One is, I honor my body. I deserve and gratefully accept pleasure and abundance in my life. I honor and proudly express my sexuality.
What's that one? I deserve and gratefully accept.
I deserve and gratefully accept pleasure and abundance in my life. Yeah, I honor and proudly express my sexuality. I deserve good things in my life. And I accept happy and fulfilling relationships.
Sorry, what was the one before that? I deserve
good things in my life. Mm-hmm. Right. So there's also page 32. So this is kind of like your fun creative page. Okay, this is the same page that you had with your root chakra. It's just the next page over, Amy. Folks.
It's an hour and a half. Right?
It's an hour and a half. Yeah.
I'm meeting an appointment, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be done.
Oh, what time?
It's at 6:15.
You should. Where is it?
It's at Queen Street, in Kingston.
Oh, you should. Oh, yeah.
Sorry,
that's okay. So page 32, I'll leave that to you to do on your own. This is kind of like your fun creative space, the same page that you got with your root chakra. Yep. So this is just like, Evrazini, you said you're really good at writing your things out, right? So you can use this to write, you can use this to paint, you can use this to, if you find pictures, or if things are, when you start doing this work, things start popping out at you, right? Because you're thinking about things. So things start revealing themselves to you. So maybe this is a space where you reflect on that. So you can put a sticker on there, you can color on there, whatever it is that you can reference to your sacral chakra on there. Okay, so we're like pressed for time. So I want to make sure we get to, there's that. So we covered a lot of that, right? Oh, the only one that we didn't do is, I'll tell you what the crystals are. So there's agate, quartz, calcite, garnet, and carnelian.
And what?
Oh, and the essential oils too. I think I left out.
Garnet.
Yeah, garnet's beautiful. Yeah. Oils. I had oils. There was jasmine. Where did I write it down? Oh my God, there was jasmine. There was still ylang. Ylang was another one. Oh my gosh, you guys, I have it written. Oh, it's right here. Neroli was another one. I actually don't know what neroli is. I've never.
No, I don't have it. I thought I did. No.
I think it's nice.
I need to check that one. And then mandarin, of course.
I have that one.
Yeah. And then what else? So foods we got on there, really anything orange. There's a million orange foods, squashes, oranges, melons. What was that? Areas of life. So sexuality, sensuality, creativity, and expression through these things, right? So there's expression through the throat chakra, but there's also like, I know a woman that like will just jump naked into a pool in front of everybody. Like she is so comfortable in her sexuality. It's like she doesn't care who's around. And it's not like threatening, it's fun. You know what I mean? So it's not your expression through your voice in the sacral, it's your expression through you, where everything is birthed through you. Okay. And then yoga poses, we talked about this, all the warriors. Half moon is another one. We're going to do that today. Chair pose. And Padahastasana was that forward fold. We did that last week. That's also for the root chakra as well. And the emotions. So you can say so much, like your sense of loving yourself, I think is the best way to sum up the sacral chakra. All right, are we ready?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do our meditation. Does anybody have any questions?
Nope.
No. Okay. So we're 5:27. I don't want to rush the practice. So I think what we'll do is I'll take you through the meditation because that'll be short. But what I'll do is I'll record the yoga practice for you, the asana practice.
Okay.
Reasonable? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I gotta be more diligent on time next time. Okay. All right. Go. So we are going to ground into the space. So I'll show you to start. Yoni Mudra, okay, is your 3 fingers interlaced, okay? And then your index and your thumb pressing. And this is your Yoni Mudra, okay? Yoni Mudra is connected to, oh my gosh, I wrote this down because it's so powerful and I love her so much. Kali is the deity, the Hindu deity, and she is, okay, specific. She is the goddess of time, creation, destruction, and transformation.
Wow.
Yeah, she's a powerful one, that one. So you call on her when you have a battle to fight, whether it's internal or external. And she's also called on when we're ready to make big changes in our lives. So when we're ready to release what no longer serves us, and when we're ready to step into our power unapologetically. Kali is a goddess warrior. Okay, so given this is our goddess space, our creative space, anything that we don't want in this space, we release. Okay. All right, so we're going to go into our mudra. When we're done, I'm just going to open with one Om and a mantra. Okay, so bring your hands down to your thighs, shoulders down and back, closing down the eyes, and keeping your mouth closed, and just taking a few breaths through the nose. And feeling the breath enter through the nostrils, down into your belly. Feeling the belly come down as you exhale. And now bringing your attention to the space behind the pubic bone. And so as we inhale and exhale, just doing your best to connect with that energy center in our opening mantra. And bringing your hands to your heart center. Om Bhuvasvaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Yo Yona Prachodayat. Om. Bring your hands down to your thighs, continuing to focus on your breath. And bring your hands into your Kali Mudra. And so interlacing your fingers, the 3 fingers, bringing your index and your thumb together. And so this way. There you go. Perfect. Okay, shoulders down and back. Bringing your awareness again to the Svadhisthana. Remembering that this is our water element. So whether you're seeing orange or watercolors, just give yourself the space to connect. And with each inhalation, feeling that ball of energy growing and getting smaller with each exhale. And inhaling, getting bigger and smaller on the exhale. Continuing to breathe. With your next few breaths, attuning to your inner dwelling. Experience an opening to receive nourishment, pleasure, and healing in this space. As you inhale, calling in all of the healing qualities that came up for you today in our understanding of the Svadhisthana. Your creativity, your pleasure, your sense of deservingness. And on your next exhale, a sense of fluidity springs from your second chakra to nourish your entire being. For the next few breaths, just sensing your equanimity deepening naturally, allowing you to rest in the calm depths of your being. Feeling a sense of knowing that no matter what is happening around you, you are nourished. Resting in the deep calm of your being. Healthy relationships unfold naturally, allowing you to perceive that when you are home within your own being, you're able to be with others in complete comfort and safety. So, as you nourish yourself more completely and live in greater harmony, you will naturally find pleasure in simple things and enjoy the beauty of life. And so, for your next several breaths, just feeling a deep sense of nourishment unfolding naturally and supporting your entire being. Continuing to focus on your Svadhisthana and your breath. With each inhalation and exhalation, repeating mentally to yourself, I honor my body. And bringing your hands to your heart center. Giving thanks for this knowing, for these teachings that have been gifted, and for the opportunity to explore more trust within ourselves, and for you giving yourself the time in your being. And closing out with one Om and three Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Rubbing your palms together over the head and bringing them over the closed eyes. Slowly opening your eyes in the palm. Thank you, ladies.
Taking a few breaths here to ground into the space, feeling the rise and fall of your belly with each inhalation and exhalation. Now bringing your hands to your heart center, preparing for our opening mantra. Om Bhuv Bhuvasvaha Tat Savitur Vareniyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonat Pracholayat. Om. Now on your inhale, reaching your arms up over your head, rotating towards your left side, looking straight back. And then inhaling center, turning towards your right side, looking straight back with your chest lifted. One more time here, inhaling, turning to your left side. Inhaling, center, and coming to your right side. Now placing your hands on your shoulders and doing a few rotations, making sure that your core stays stable and bringing your elbows to touch at the center. Inhaling and exhaling here on each rotation, and then taking it here into the other direction. 3, 4, and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Ooh, wonderful. Reaching your hand over to your left side with your bicep beside the ear, keeping your right knee down towards the ground. Inhaling center and over to your right. Making sure to keep the elbow nice and straight here. Again, inhale center, exhale, reach down to your left, getting a nice stretch in the side body here. Inhale center, exhale right. Wonderful. And now going into some neck stretches with your spine nice and long. Just reaching your chin right down to your chest, inhaling, and exhaling as you lift your chin towards the sky, really getting some length out of the neck, keeping the shoulders down and back, really opening through the heart space. And then bringing your left ear to your left shoulder and over to the other side. Inhaling down, exhaling up, and dropping over to the opposite side again for a few moments here. Now bringing your chin to center and turning towards the left. Inhale center and then towards the right. Inhale center left. Inhale center and right. Making sure to keep the chin parallel with the shoulder. Keeping the shoulders down and back and the chest lifted. Getting into a tabletop and preparing for cat-cow here. Knees directly under the hips. For a cat, inhaling, exhaling, chest lifts, tailbone lifts. Inhale, round. Exhale, lift, really opening through the chest. Inhale, round. And taking your right arm and reaching through and then up towards the sky, being sure that the hips stay nice and still and square to the ground with each rotation. Really focusing on opening through the chest and rotating through the torso. Switching to the other side. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, reach through. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, reaching through. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, down. Now coming into our first downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana here. Really being sure to press the heels into the ground and push through the hands Rotating the tailbone up towards the sky and then coming forward into a high plank and pushing back again into your downward facing dog. Again, pushing the hips forward into high plank, keeping the elbows super straight. Option here to drop to the knees and push the hips forward, really pushing into the wrist and then coming back into your downward facing dog. Inhale, coming forward, pressing the hips forward. Exhale, curl the toes and reach back into your downward facing dog. Again here, really pushing the heels towards the ground, and then we're going to reach the right foot up and then forward into Svadhisthana, horse riding pose here, pressing the back foot into the ground, lifting through the chest, curling the toe underneath, and then bringing that left foot back into your downward facing dog. Again here, really pushing into the armpits as you come back, and then into Ashtanga Namaskar, chin, chest, come down to the ground, and then Bhujangasana as we lift through the chest, curl the toes back underneath, and coming back into your downward facing dog here. Again, reaching the left leg up, coming forward with the right into your first forward fold, and then reaching up to the sky, back down into your forward fold here, knees bent, then extend through the knees, lengthen through the back, take a step back here into another downward facing dog. Bringing the right foot up this time, and then taking a step forward, coming back down into Svadhisthana, bringing up the chest, pushing into the back leg, really pushing the hips down here in this position, and then bringing the right foot back as you exhale into your downward facing dog here. Coming into your Ashtanga Namaskar again, and then Bhujangasana, lifting through the chest, curling the toes underneath, and again into your downward facing dog. Inhale, right leg comes up and forward, and then left leg comes forward to meet the right, forward fold. Inhale here. Exhale, extend, halfway lift, and then reaching up towards the sky again. Folding forward, inhale. Hands down, step or jump back, coming down into your first chaturanga, and then coming into an upward facing dog and into your first child's pose, taking a rest here. Taking a moment here to breathe, really reaching through the shoulders and the fingers, and also pressing the hips down towards the heel. Coming back up into a downward facing dog, pushing into those heels, feeling more length through the hamstrings. This time left foot comes up and forward again. This time coming into your first warrior two, turning the hips square in front and then rotating through the back heel, coming into your first warrior one. Push the hips down, reaching up. Inhale, and then into your first half moon here, lifting that right leg, rotating towards your right side body, using your block here if you need to, and slowly coming down and bringing that right foot forward. Inhale, reach up into chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift to lengthen. Exhale, taking a step back into high plank here, and then back into your downward facing dog. Taking a moment to breathe here, pushing into those heels, pushing those armpits towards the shins, looking back at the knees, reaching up with the right leg, right foot comes forward, coming into your warrior two here again, pushing that back foot down, bringing the hips forward, and then pivoting through the back leg, coming into your first warrior one, really reaching up, pushing the hips down, and then forward fold, bringing that left foot up and coming into your half moon here. Feel free to keep that right knee bent and lifting the chest and the hips towards the left side body, and then folding down again here into your chair pose, reaching up towards the sky. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift to lengthen. Exhale, reaching back into your high plank here again. Exhale, coming back into your downward facing dog, pushing through those heels and those armpits, looking back at the shins and taking a moment to breathe here. Knees down to the ground, and then reach back into your balasana here. Child's pose, third eye to the ground, pushing your tailbone in towards the heels, reaching forward with the fingers, and breathe. And now preparing for Shavasana. And this is where Zayla joins us for our Shavasana with some kisses. So getting comfortable here, holding on to your dog if you need to. Relaxing through the heels, the thighs. Bringing your hands down by your side. Just settling into your body, thanking yourself for allowing this space to breathe and to move into your Svadhisthana chakra. The space of your creativity, of your birthing, of your cleansing. Of all that is sacred. Remembering that you as a woman hold the beginning of all creation in this space. Thanking Mother Earth for holding you, for providing you with stability and the balance that you experience today. When you're ready, taking a moment to roll over onto the right side body. When you're ready, bringing yourself up with closed eyes into a seated position here. Your hands in Gyan Mudra, index finger and thumb together, rolling the shoulders down and back. Closing out with 1 Om and 3 Shanti. Inhale. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Bringing your hands to your heart center. Thanking Mother Earth for her support and her guidance in every moment. Rubbing your hands together over the head, and then bringing your hands over the closed eyes. And taking a moment here to slowly open the eyes and the palms, bringing your hands to your heart center. Namaste.